Real Time with Prince Blue with another super chat. Says, Derek, what part of Kerr's scheme from the Olympics can help Joel Embiid?
It's a good question. I think a lot of people would say that they like Joe on the low block a lot because Kerr put him down there.
It was one that I did mention just to see a little bit more of that, even though he leads the league in post touches as it is.
I'm not necessarily a ramp Joe's post touches kind of guy. I think he has a pretty good mix, and I think he's very effective from the middle of the floor. And I do think it's easier for him to read double teams. I'm going to go back to what we said the other day. It's just utilizing him off ball to free up shooters. I think that's the main thing for me.
I think now what they played at the Olympics, certainly not one-to-one what they play in Golden State. I think Steve Kerr's basic beliefs are motion and movement, right? And I think what we saw, if we're taking from Kerr specifically in the Olympics, is exactly that, right? You want to get Joel in different positions, put him on the move. Sometimes, and we've seen him shoot from the corner a fair amount over the years, but not on any kind of regular basis.
Most of his threes come top of the game.
It's mostly above the break, and so maybe you're moving him to the corner some more and using him as a weapon there. And so to me, that's one of the big things I want to see this season. We talked about it end of last year. I would like to see Joel's three-point volume go up. And I think if you put him in that corner spot a little more, yes, you're taking him away from the rim. Yes, you're maybe taking away from some rebounding opportunities. But that's given you some wing guard, pick and roll, pick and pop combinations with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey. And you can experiment with that a little bit. And mostly what I want to see from Joel is just tapping into the full skill set, right? Like I think people often put him in boxes and say, well, this is what he can do. This is what he's good at. And obviously he's got his favorite areas of the floor. He loves that nail. He doesn't love to post up as much. Like I'm not going to say he doesn't like it. He clearly likes getting the ball. And so if he's going to get a mismatch, he'll post up, draw fouls and dunk on people. I just would like to see the full assortment of skills that I think he can bring to the table. Because a lot of times when people say, well, he can't do this or he's not capable of that, if you give him the opportunity, he's shown, yes, he actually can do that on at least a semi-regular basis. The greatest example was, well, he's not a pick and roll big. Well, you play him with Harden, and those two were basically automatic scoring in that pick and roll. And now we've seen him get to there with Tyrese Maxey, throwing those pocket passes. They worked on that last summer. It directly translated into games at this level. So I want to see Joel in less of a give him the ball over and over again to score 30 points and more of the, yes, we're going to rely on you. Yes, you're the number one option, but you also are going to be used just to shake people free for open threes. You're going to be in on more duck-in opportunities. We're going to force more switches and do things like that. That's the ideal for Joel, is to get to that level where teams can't key on one or two things because they're running different stuff every time down the floor.
So just to kind of clarify to my post touches thing and the deeper positioning that I would like to see a little bit more of, when we watched him at the showcase, one of the things we know that he struggled with going into that game, we watched him pregame take those jump hooks. And he always struggles on the jump hooks. He has such a soft touch. He has a good flick of his wrist with how he shoots the basketball, the layup package, everything. For whatever reason, he struggles with the simple jump hook that we see so many times that's automatic for a lot of bigs, even some of those, let's just say power forwards, if you will, that have to play with their back to the basket a little bit more and have that touch. That's the only thing that because to me, it takes away from him having to get so physical of what he already does great and can just simply step away just a tad bit away from the rim with the deep post touch, turn, and just jump hook instead of having to, we know he's going to get foul calls in his favor, but in preserving his energy level, his body, taking some beatings from time to time. And even when the double team does show, when it does come over and he's already turned and now he's just simply shooting over his left shoulder, that's an easy two for me. And that's the only reason I said this post touches, just to kind of clarify more with that jump hook that we know he struggled with so much in the past, because we saw it a few times as the tournament went along, the Olympics went along, and he started making them. And that's something I think that could be beneficial to him and the Sixers with that type. And if he's a willing passer, when that double team does come over and he's already in that motion of getting ready to shoot it, that's nothing but somebody cuts, bam, right there, you just drop it off all in one motion of having that as now a weapon against the defense. So just wanted to clarify my point on the post touch and what it looks like for me. And I just wanted to make sure I said that part. So.
No, I don't think, certainly not Derek and I, and I'm sure most of the audience, none of us are looking at you like you're like a rockhead, like, oh, just throw it in the post every possession kind of thing. Certainly.
I called it a layup from his 15-foot elbow jumper.
Yes.
That's a layup for him.
I completely understand where you're coming. To me, the key for him in the post, I think, is he's got to mix speeds a lot more. I want to see, again, we talked about playing with speed a lot in the Olympics. You can't go speed moves every time, right? Because if defense is key on that, then if they send it, like let's say you have the defender on your left hip, right? If you're always going baseline, if a second defender comes and you're spinning quick and you're going baseline, they're going to draw a lot of charges or they're going to force a lot of turnovers just hitting you there. So it can't just be every single touch you get on the block is speed, 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 speed every time. But if you throw that at people, if you make them feel unsettled, uncertain, if they don't know, hey, we can throw a double now, and they have to think about, all right, when does it come? What's the timing? He's not just going to sit here and back me down for 4 to 8 seconds and try to shoot a jumper. Sometimes it's going to be one dribble, one step, boom, layup, dunk, foul, whatever it might be. And so that I think is really the final level for him as a post player, because he can make the reads cross court. Obviously, he's so tall that he can see over the defense. He's good on the strong side, DHOs, doing all that stuff. It's mixing up the way he attacks enough that the defense does not ever feel comfortable when he's in the post. That, I think, is going to be the difference between where he is now, which, again, he's very good in an area where most of the league is bad at post offense. If he can mix in more speed and just keep defenders on their heels just a little bit more, and frankly, as we saw in the Olympics, don't worry about getting fouls. Like, just go to the rim and the fouls will come. I think that takes him from where he's at now, which is very, very good, to an even higher level on offense.
Yeah, real fast. I was always big on Joel not taking more than 3 threes unless, of course, you just get a hot hand and you get rolling, you keep shooting. You mentioned take the volume up a little bit higher.
I would. If he could shoot 5 or 6 a game, I'd be thrilled.
Okay.
So I would take double what I think on high volume, he could shoot 38, 39, maybe even 40%. I don't think he wants to do that in his heart of hearts. I don't think he'll be used in that way. But I do think getting in that habit where there will be games where Maxey is the guy or Paul George is super hot and you're running the offense through him. And in those moments, you need Joel to do one of two things. Either he's got to be an absolute force on the glass, which a lot of us would love that, but maybe is not, based on his track record, not realistic for him to be that type of guy. Or he needs to be an elite floor spacer that just the defender cannot leave him, and that keeps the floor open for whether it's Paul, whether it's Tyrese, or maybe it's both guys going at once. So I want him to be used to that when those moments come against the good teams and in the playoffs. I don't think he's ever going to quite get there, right, to that type of number. But I would love this. I just want to see what it looks like if he shoots a ton of threes.
Well, especially, earlier in his career, you were like, all right, he's got really good form on the jumper, but it's not going in. He's shooting low 30s every year. 3 of the last 4 years, he's been at 37, 38%. Mm-hmm. And those shots...
And the free throw numbers are great.
Yeah,
so.
And those shots that he's taking, like those threes are there every trip down the floor.
Yeah.
So asking him to get up, 5 or 6... You're not even really changing the difficulty of the shot. You're just asking him to increase the volume. I think he can probably end up shooting 37, 38% on 5 or 6 per game. And if he can do that, then I'm with Kyle. I wouldn't necessarily say that those should come away from the post touches. They would probably come a little more away from the mid-range jumpers.
Yeah.
But still, I think there's ways to ramp up both of those, quite frankly. I think the post is a little bit selective. It's when you have the right matchup. It's when you have the right team that's not going to double as aggressively as some do. And there, yeah, ramp it up. But otherwise, I like a pretty diverse shot diet from Joe.
We all silly like the mayor.